Hello, Bots and Books fans, this is Scorp1701, and tonight we are going to be taking a look at McFarlane Toys, Batman, the animated series, The Batman. Now, this is one of 4 figures that have recently been released, and they have been met with controversy as soon as they hit the shelves. And that controversy ranges everywhere from paint to price and to just function of these figures. Now, these are re-releases of the 2016 DC Collectibles line. Well, sort of. There are a few differences, especially with the Batman, and I'll mention that in just a second. And I did pick up a few of those 7 years ago, but I really never opened them because I did hear even back then that there were controversy about the figures being very fragile and breaking very easily. But tonight, we are going to open this one, and I want to look at it and see if it's as bad as everyone is saying, and maybe see if I could fix some of the issues that people have been complaining about on my version. So anyway, jumping right into it, taking a look at the box. It is a very nice window box. You have 12 plus here. You can see Batman in the plastic prison. You see Collect to Build the Condiment King, Batman the Animated Series, Batman, nice logo of Batman the Animated Series on the top of the box. You have McFarlane Toys, Batman the Animated Series logo here. You have McFarlane Toys again on the side of the box, Batman the Animated Series, Batman DC Direct, McFarlane Toys on this side of the box, Batman the Animated Series, Batman, DC Direct, McFarlane Toys. On the bottom of the box, you have some credits for the box and a barcode. And coming to the back of the box, you have Batman the Animated Series, McFarlane Toys, the Condiment King, Collect to Build a Figure, and there's the Condiment King taking center stage on the back of the box. You have Batman, Collect Them All, which includes Scarecrow, Robin, and Mr. Freeze. You also have some more credits for the box, but that is it for the box. And I don't want to see Batman in the box, and I know you don't. But before we get him out, I do want to compare him with some other figures that I've been keeping in the museum. And for our first museum comparison, here he is with the Batman, the Animated Series Batman, number 13 in the line. It's the single figure, and it was alright. Now, these figures may look the same, except for a few new paint apps for this one, but these are not the same figures. There is a noticeable remolding of the chest to give it an ab crunch on the new one, and as you can see in the single figure here, there is no ab crunch or joint. And we'll move this out of the way to bring in our second comparison. Here, the Batman the Animated Series 2-pack, Batman and the Phantasm, and again, there is no ab joint on this figure like there is on the new one. So that is going to be a cool comparison with the figures of today and the figures from yesterday, or 2016. Alright, now let's get this Batman out of his box. And here we have Batman out of the box. And out of the box, he stands about 6 3/4 inches tall. He comes with a cool trading card, some alternate hands, a grapnel launcher, and a batarang. And we'll take a look at that in just a moment. But first off, I want to take a look at the Bat himself. And coming real close in on the Batman figure, you can see he is really nice looking for a Batman the Animated Series figure. He has a lot of paint apps on his cowl. Starting at the top, you can see some nice blue up there coming down to his white eyes and his face, which is one of the first complaints. From our perspective, the left side of his face is shadowed, and then you have the regular skin tone and then the black for the mouth, which is good. The original single figure did not have any type of markings to outline his mouth. It was just plain. And then that will bring us down to his neck and his cape. We'll zoom out just a little bit to get a more broad look at the cape. Now, the cape is a single piece. It does have a lot of nice blue highlighting here at the top. I really like that. Coming around to the back, you can see the cape itself just is molded all the way to here, and then it comes down with this cloth good, which is really nice. The inside is a very brilliant blue. I like that. And the cape is removable if you would like to take it off. It's nice as far as capes goes, but I think it could be a little wider. I mean, it basically covers Batman's back, but just barely. And speaking of Batman, when you take the cape off, he looks okay from the front, but when you kind of look at him from the side and the back, you can see how they really use this cape to create basically the back of his neck, because that looks really strange if he didn't have his cape on. But anyway, going back out to the main figure, coming down to his chest, you have a very nice bat symbol here, and then you start seeing some more shadow effects here on the inside of the arms, and the inside of the side, and on the left side here there's just a little bit on the inside of the shoulder. Coming down, you have a nice utility belt, which is yellow with some toon shading here, which is not one of my favorites. Coming down to the legs. Now, this side of the leg, I really think they put too much shading here, and I think I agree with the complaints about that. The blue coming down from the shorts, I really like that. I think that's nice. Inside of the left leg, again, I think too much shading there. There's some blue on the gloves, which I like, and blue on the boots, which I think works really nice. But for the most of this side, I think they could have done without. Coming around to the back, they didn't do shading here, so you know, I don't see why they would, because the cape is pretty much going to cover that up. But anyway, this is, for the most part, a very beautifully sculpted Batman figure, and I do like it. I just think that they went a little heavy with the shading. Alright, moving on. And for our articulation, now this is gonna be a little scary. I tried to articulate it and it just didn't feel good, but we'll go through it and hopefully nothing breaks. Start at the head can go around 360 degrees. You got a little bit of up, you got a little bit down, and you get some left and right wiggle waggle. So that is pretty neat. Coming to the shoulders, shoulders can come up from the side of the body and then back down. They can go around 360 degrees. You do not have a bicep rotation. Here at the elbow, you do have a rotation, 360 degrees, which is pretty much a forearm rotation. You do have a elbow bend, which gets you actually just under 90 degrees, so that's actually not that great. But you have a separate rotation for the glove, which goes around 360 degrees, so that's pretty neat. And then the hand is independent, so it can go 360 degrees, and it hinges in and out depending on which hand you have. Coming to the center of the body, you do have a ab crunch, so we can go down a little bit and back a little bit. Not a lot, so I don't really know if they intended that to be more than it is, or maybe mine's just stuck. But no, it just doesn't do a lot. But you do get like half a click or something, so that is cool. Does have waist articulation, 360 degrees all the way around. Coming to the legs, this is the scary part. The legs can go up, but they feel very brittle. But you do get some good motion there. Obviously, it cannot go back because the butt gets in the way. It does go out to the side a long way, so I like that. As for thigh rotation, nothing there. Coming down to the knee, it does have a double hinged knee, which is really nice, so we can get some good back kicks. And that will bring us to the boot cut, which is actually the boot, which goes around 360 degrees. And that will bring us to the foot, which is articulated. So it can go up, it can go down, and it can rock around the world 360 degrees. So yeah, a lot of good articulation there, even though it feels a little bit hindered, and I'm not sure why that is. I guess maybe just because the thickness of the plastic, I guess. I don't know. It could just be that it just needs to be worked out, but then if it gets worked out too much, you might have loose joints. Anyway, that is your articulation. Moving on. And for accessories, Batman comes with a pair of punching hands, a pair of small item holding hands, a pair of large item holding hands, and a hand with a grapnel built into it, which is really nice. And those are Batman's alternate hands. Moving on. And if you don't want the grapnel molded into the hand, he comes with a single grapnel, which is really nice, and he can hold it in his large item holding hands, as we saw before. It's just basically black molded piece, no paint or anything on it. Alright, moving on. And Batman's final accessory would be his Batarang, because every good Batman figure needs a Batarang, and this one was okay. It looks more like one of the little smaller ones that has some nice serrated edges on the bottom, and he could hold this just fine in his small item holding hand, so that's pretty cool. Alright, moving on. And finally, the figure comes with this neat little trading card. You got a nice picture of Batman from the animated series there, the logo, Batman the Animated Series. And on the back, you get a little read-up of the Batman. I will zoom in so we can take a look at that. You can pause the video, read that to your heart's content, but we must be moving outward and onward. So, trading cards. Yay! Moving on. And just to complete everything in the box, you do have the Condiment King's arms, and they're nice. They're kind of a teal with some what looks like sauce packs on the side and some white gloves, and there's some shadow on the inside, so that is really neat. I don't know if we're going to be able to build the Condiment King. It just depends on if I like this figure and I want to pick up the others, so we will see. And that is the Condiment King's arms. Moving on. And full comparison, here he is with the Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Batman and the Target exclusive 30th anniversary Batman the Animated Series Batman. And I really like his proportions better than the 30th anniversary Batman, and he's definitely a lot easier to pose and stand. Alright, moving on. And for another comparison, here he is with a few of my other favorite Batman figures. The McFarlane Nightfall Batman, the DC Essentials Nightfall Batman, the McFarlane Batman 89, and the Justice Batman. So, yeah, whereas he looks good with these guys, the only problem with him is he's coming up short. So all of these are roughly around 7 inches, and he doesn't break that 7-inch line. So I don't know if he would fit in with any of the DC multiverse that you have. So if you're a stickler for scale, I don't know if he's going to fit. So you'll probably just use him with figures in his line. Alright, moving on. And this has been the McFarlane Toys Batman the Animated Series Batman with the Collect-to-Build Condiment King. And I think this figure is a mixed bag. I do like the accessories, the Batarang and the grapnel. That's pretty much everything you need for a Batman the Animated Series Batman. Alternate hands, the fisty hands, the small weapon holding hands, big weapon holding hands. Those are great. The trading card, I like it, okay. But it all comes down to, is the figure worth picking up? Especially if you had the ones that came out in 2016. It's obviously a different mold and sculpt because he has a slight ab crunch, but I think the paint and the poor application of shading is gonna be what keeps people away from this figure. Not to mention that he is like $30 when most other Build-A-Figure figures come in at $25. Which is still a lot, but still, this is like an extra $10. And finally, my last critique is that he's smaller than most of your DC Multiverse figures. You saw in the comparison, he didn't really fit in scale with the others. But if you get his entire wave here, you'll have figures for him to play with if you are a stickler for size scale. It's hard for me to actually recommend this figure, but I do like it better than the other McFarlane Batman the Animated Series that we've gotten because the proportions are a lot better. So I guess I'm going to leave it up to you if you want to add this Batman to your collection. So if you're looking for this figure, you can find him at Targets and he goes for $30. Now, what I'm planning to do with him is to try to make him a little bit better. You may remember last year when I reviewed the VHS boxed Cyclops, and he had a lot of shading I didn't particularly like on him, and I was able to fix that by using a little bit of Winsor Newton brush cleaner and restorer by taking away some of the cell shading. So I'm going to try that with this Batman figure, and if you're interested, you can stay tuned after the video and see how it turns out. So that's it, guys. That's the review. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, keep playing. And welcome back. So to give you an overview of what I plan on doing to this figure, starting with the head, I do plan on getting rid of the shading on the right side of his face. I don't like that. And let me put the camera stationary. And under the arms, I really don't like that, so I'm going to try to get rid of that on both of these arms. I do like the blue on the gloves, so I'm going to leave that as it is. The side here I'm going to get rid of. I do like the shading underneath the breast here. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to try to get rid of this on the belt. I don't like that. And definitely going to take off all the shading here on the side of the leg and on the inside of the leg here. So that is the goal, and that is the intention. The cape I'm going to leave alone. I do like the blue on the cape, and I like the blue on the head. So that is all going to stay how I like it. And once again, if you're interested, I'm going to be using the Winsor Newton brush cleaner and restorer. Very small amounts, using some Q-tips to try to get the shading off of this guy. And if I can make him look decent, then I probably get the others and do the same thing to them. So give me just a moment and I will be back with the finished result. And here, Bots and Books, is the finished product after using the brush cleaner, and I think he turned out really well. I did get rid of a lot of that horrible shading on the legs, and it turns out that this is a very nice looking figure once you take all of that out. However, I did run into a couple issues, so if you want to do this, I want to give you fair warning that when it came to the shading on the face, when I took that shading off, the paint underneath was not flesh tone. It was a kind of a greenish blue, and I had to repaint the mouth. And as you can see, that doesn't look that great. So I think I did a pretty okay job, but for the most part, if I had to do it over again, I think I would leave the shading on the mouth. And the second problem I ran into was with the utility belt. When I tried to take the shading off of it, I found out that the utility belt was black, so I had to redo a little bit of the yellow on it, and I don't know if I matched it exactly right. But other than those two things, I think this is a very nice looking figure, and if you can take that shading off, you got a very good, decent Batman. Okay? Well, that is my attempt to fix this figure. I think it worked very well. So if you wanted to do it and try it, it's very simple. Again, all you have to do is get some brush cleaner, have a little bit of patience with your brush, and take off the cell shading, and you got it. All right, guys, that is it. See you next time.